Rivka from South Africa, whose husband, your type, Meir ben Yehuda Leib HaLevi, should have an aliyah, neshama, with, and of course, all the chayalim, all the chatufim, all Am Yisrael, all the poor families who are in anguish and yearning. Hashem should please just bring us into Geula and end this crazy galus now, please. Okay, we're in our book. We're in our book, Shabbat, a day to create yourselves. Did you want to say something, Zelda?
No, I said amen.
Okay, we like that word. Okay, so today is chapter 9, and chapter 9 is called Gentle. Well, we could use a bunch of that, right? And I like I said, I'm reading a lot of this and then anecdoting it because he did it such a beautiful job. It's hard to do better than this. Basically, he's talking about conflict because conflict is destructive. We're living it right now in all over the place. It brings tension. It brings distance to our precious relationships. And like a destructive fire, it consumes happiness, love, connection, the very foundations of a home. I don't think there's anybody who doesn't have someone, themselves or others, who've not been through this or are going through. Torah tells us, do not burn a fire in your homes on Shabbat. So beyond the basic laws of Shabbat, that we do not light a fire, we don't cook, we don't turn on our gas. We know all this, right? We don't go in the car because of combustion. We don't do a lot of anything that has to do with fire. We have Shabbos lamps, we have everything. But it's also, the Zohar says that this alludes to the fire of anger and conflict. Shabbos must be a time of love and peace and togetherness, not fragmentation and dispute and tension. So we light candles. The most beautiful, beautiful time of entree to Shabbos is candle lighting. I don't think anybody could dispute that. It's magical every time, right? And it was instituted to create tranquility in our homes. What the sages call shalom bayis is sacrosanct. And it's why if a person cannot afford, lo aleinu, both Hanukkah and Shabbos candles take precedence. Even though the Hanukkah candles are lit to publicize divine miracles that occurred, the peace between a husband and wife is especially sacred, to the extent, says the Gemara, that Hashem allows his name to be erased, right, in Sota, in order to preserve harmony between a husband and wife. Now, an anecdote that I think about Shalom Bayis, now that I'm in an environment with family, and when you go to your kids and you see, I am telling you just from my own experience, I believe and know that Shalom Bayis is an energetic reality that children particularly absorb, even if they're not in the Dalet Amos of the husband and wife that are going through their stuff. I personally witnessed like something happening downstairs. This was years ago, but within 1 minute on the clock, because I timed it, children that were playing happily a floor above in a closed bedroom went into anger within a minute after the quiet anger that completely created the static of a lack of shalom bayis. And I see it all the time. I think the most important thing you could ever provide your children with is shalom bayis. And that's talking from a person who didn't have a lot of it, so I know what it was. Now I have it, so it's very epic. And now they're out of the house. But at least when I come in, they get to feel it. So Shabbos candles preserve peace in a very practical way by illuminating the space we live in so we don't stumble about. And yet, today, that is not the primary, right? Let's just hold that thought. Because the candles symbolize Shalom Bayis in a deeper way. There's something magical and beautiful about those candles that allow us to savor that experience of being together on Shabbos, to seeing each other, seeing each other in each other's faces, so that we really can connect. And that way, Shabbos candles symbolize the light of love and attention. The pressures of the week, like we don't get to look at each other. We're so busy looking at you know what. We don't look at each other anymore, right? I remember I once saw a Sephardi family. I think I told you guys this, that when they went out to dinner, we were in the same restaurant. And this was at the big, not so deep into cell phone line. And the father was like, okay, cell phone's in. And everybody had to turn off their phone and put it in the center of the table. So you couldn't have it underneath. You had to be present tense, right? My father in the day when phones were still on the wires used to take the phone off the hook. We lived with that bah, 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 until it calmed down, and that was dinner time. Dinner time, even the phone on the wall wasn't allowed to ring. How cool is that? Did you want to say something, Dora? Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to tell you when you said like no conflict, complete peace. And sometimes, like there's this past Shabbat, there was things I wanted to bring up to my daughter, but I knew if I brought it up, it could potentially, right, cause something that's not necessarily peaceful. And I was like, oh, but this is a really good point to bring up. And I held my tongue, and I did that a few times. And then I didn't bring up the topic at all. And then after Shabbat, it resolved itself so beautifully without me saying even a word. And I was thanking
Wow.
HaShem. Yes.
That's really, you see the reward for shtok. It's like, wow, that's good to know. Thank you. So these candles seem to allow us. Now, obviously, we have to take advantage of it, right? And that's what we're going to talk about that in a minute. But that's one of the big pluses of getting ready for Shabbat early, because the more hurried you are, the more there is in those final moments, which kind of it takes away from that entree with peace, because you're just so mabobbled. Even though, yes, once you light, it's like, but there's a very big difference between approaching with Bahala or with Shalom, because you're ready and you're in your zone, right? For everything. So he says, seeing each other, really seeing each other, nurtures empathy. And that is the secret to overcoming anger and resentment. It says, Dan eskol ha'adam l'kav. Now what happens, it says this in Pirkei Avos. Oh, he's going to bring it. I just learned it. In the original Hebrew, there's a powerful nuance. It says not the person, but the whole person. Dan eskol ha'adam l'kav, which means when you see the full context, when you see the whole picture, like you as a mother know where this is going to go, because you know what her nature is, or anybody, and the truth is we never really know when we're dealing with anyone, all the baggage that they've got, but everybody's got it. Everybody's got it. Everybody's got it, whether, like my friend used to say, some people have on the front porch, some people have on the back porch. Everybody's got something, and you don't know what that something is. So we don't know when we're triggering. We just know that whatever, their lives are much more complicated than they seem on the surface, and we can't know their circumstances. So we should view their perceived faults in the broader context of the good they do. And Shabbat gives us the time and space to truly see those around us and relate with empathy and compassion and kindness and love and closeness. And that is easier said than done, but at least we have a fighting chance on Shabbos, because the world has quieted down, and maybe we can open up that power tool called empathy. Because I know that we all know that there ain't nothing more. There's no way that this works. My mother always used to say, when you point something this way, three fingers come right back at you. Right? So she's like, don't do this, do this, do this. Because that's just how it is. So on Shabbos, we nurture stillness to notice and appreciate the people in our lives, because when our hearts are still and peaceful, so are our homes. On Shabbos, we can achieve a peace of mind, a sublime inner restfulness that creates the ideal state for love and connection, not superficial, not like placating, but a real state of inner shalom that allows us to open up. Now, I say that with the reality check that we know that people come at us with all kinds of, even on Shabbos, right? And we also know that the polar opposite of shalom is anger, which it is compared to fire. It's one of the most destructive forces in a person. It takes away wisdom, it takes away judgment, and it and when I say anger, I'm adding my own thing, and everybody knows this, that quiet anger is even as or maybe more destructive than overt anger. Insidious shutdown, removal is just as bad. It's even worse because it's not being said, and it's like as if we could fake somebody out, but we can't. The energy, it's an energy source, and it's a very bad energy source. So generally, we're advised to aim for the middle path in our character traits, right? It's always says, the Torah says the middle path, but not with anger. When a person has an angry nature, they are told to go to the extreme opposite. Hopefully, over time, alavai, you get to the middle path, right? But that is the rule. So the Ramban advised in his famous ethical will, he said, accustom to his son. This was the famous Igeras Ramban, right? Accustom yourself always to speak all your words with gentleness to all people at all times. And through this, you will be saved from anger, which is a terrible trait that causes people to sin. He teaches us that when whatever rage we are feeling on the inside, we should model the opposite on the outside. For when we speak gently, we can actually calm our emotions.
Amen.
That is a very powerful thing just by itself. You would think that you have to be real, but he's saying that your tone of voice is actually like a tranquilizer for you, let alone for the other person who's not going to have fuel for their fire. So when we look at the Shabbos candles, this is something to remember. Peace and gentleness are the heart and the soul of the Torah. The whole value system in Mishlei, it says, Darkecha darkei noam, her ways are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. Shabbos brings the light of peace and gentleness, love and connection into our midos, our homes, and our way of life. Now, that by itself is reason enough to keep Shabbos, let alone all the other reasons, right? And I was thinking about something, a few things. One thing I was thinking about was noticing, and I'm in my son's house right now, I'm noticing how many people work from home now, right? Raise your hand if you work from home. Anybody? One? I know, Zelda, you work outside. I just know that a lot of people do a lot of their work from home nowadays. And then I was thinking about what I always try to tell people is to prepare for Shabbos something every day. And I realized that even though, now some people are very regimented, organized people. I ain't one of them. So I don't know if you can relate to me, but for me, being a last minute person was a very big challenge in my life. And it still is. My husband's like an accountant and a CPA. So he's like my, my organizer now, but it's like, it's hard for me. But when I took this on, it's almost 6 years ago of doing the Shabbos Queen Project and learning this every day, I realized that to come to Shabbos every day, everyone can relate. Yeah. To come to Shabbos, you really do have to follow what we say. Hayom Yom Rishon b'Shabbos, Hayom Yom Sheni b'Shabbos, right? And how do you do that? You have to take a little meiser out of each day and devote it to Shabbos, and then you get the bracha of Shabbos. So those of us who work from home, we have a really unbelievable opportunity. And if you don't work from home, you still can do this because it's in our capacity, because it doesn't take a lot of time. It just takes mindfulness. And I was thinking about when a girl is and a chassan and kala are the week before their wedding, and Shabbos is considered a chasana, right? Even if they're working, and even if they're busy with XYZ, their chasana and their chassan or kala, let's say we're the kalas, right? The chassan is on their mind all the time, and they're always doing something thing to make sure they're ready for that day all the way. Even if all the accoutrements are done already, the gown is done, but the little things or picking something special to give him or whatever it is, it's on their mind because it's so important. And that's what we have to develop for Shabbos. Like, what can I do for Shabbos today? Because it's really saying, what can I do to connect to Hashem today in this yearning way? Right? So that means if you work from home, you have maybe even easier time to just the way we do set out time for a lunch break at work. We can have like a 5-10 minute Shabbos break and say, oh, you know what? Let me just write in my notes my menu. Or if you're going to make an order and you have a half hour to jump out, you already have your, oh, who am I going to invite? Oh, let me make sure to call this one. Or what's the parsha this week? Let me look what it says. Just 5-10 minutes of that. And now when you're doing your laundry and you're in that, let's say you throw in a load in your home, the Kavod Shabbos Kodesh. When you pick out your outfit in the morning, you can also say, you know what, this Shabbos, I'm going to wear this and this. And moving these hangers over here is the Kavod Shabbos Kodesh. And then you don't have to think, what am I going to wear? Oh, I picked out already. Or I picked out 2 choices, so I'll see what I'm in the mood for. We're women, after all. We need at least 2 choices. When I pack I'm always packing because my husband and I are moving all the time. He goes, why do you bring? He goes, no, never mind, I know. It's like, because I don't know what I'm going to wake up feeling like. This one of this. I need choices, even if I'm going away. So that's like little examples of what we can do, because when we come to Shabbos with the table set, you got your home, you can set your table Wednesday night if you have the space available, let alone Thursday night. We can do stuff. I'm gonna try and bake with my grandchildren chocolate cake today and challah, and freeze it. Thank God we have freezers. We're not in that zone anymore, Yeah, fresh is beautiful. Fresh here, more beautiful. I promise you, us being fresh is more important than this or that being fresh. Except for fresh salad, I'm sorry, fresh mommy or fresh wife or fresh you if you're alone works head over heels over everything else. So that's part of it. The other part I wanted to share with you is when we're talking about shalom. I remember years ago, I don't know if you feel like we're kind of like girlfriends here, Alba. Like when I was already divorced quite a long time, and I was working with a natural healer, and I was like dealing with, different things. And she was like, by the way, how much do you think you really forgave your ex-husband? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I really don't know. I tried, I worked on it. You should be healthy and well. But, everybody goes through stuff. And she was like, I'm getting only like 23% or something. But I was like, what? She was like, you got to do this. You got to forgive. You got to allow yourself to disconnect from that energy and be connected to your light without interruption. So talking about light and Shabbos candles, I was like, well, what do you think to do? She said, one of the most powerful places and ways to ask to be able to forgive and to convey that is when you light Shabbos candles. So, and she was, I wasn't then fully Chabad, so she was like, go to the, oh hell, I wasn't able to really do that. So I said, okay. So when I lit my candles for quite a few weeks, a long time, I spent time, besides other things I'm davening for, to ask to be able to forgive. I really spent time on it when I lit my candles. And I don't remember how long it took, but when she retested me, she was like, you got it. And then it was a very big nechama for me because my ex-husband, who should have a refuah shlema, has very early, very deep and horrible dementia now. And I didn't have to even go face to face because we had already kind of said that stuff. But I felt like now, because I feel so clear, I'm able to be there for my kids, to be able to be there for my children's angst over this, to be their shoulder, to not have any resentment, to not have any stuff clinging. And so whether it be an ex-husband or a family member now, or a child, or whatever you got, because we all have something. We all do, and we're all in different circumstances, whether we're the only from one in our house, whether we're, I don't know. There's a lot of crazy situations out there. Really there are. And it's all specifically custom designed by the Ribono Shel Olam for our exact soul tikkun. And we have to keep remembering that. Like someone once taught me, annoying people in your life are your spiritual sandpaper. Like you come down a rough block of wood and you're asked to make an Aron Kodesh for that Sefer Torah of an neshama that you are. So how are you going to, when you have to prepare wood, yes, that's true. Dementia causes extreme mood swings. And listen, he had stuff before and whatever it was, but, I'm divorced 13 years. This was, but and we never know. We never know why a person, like we said before, we don't know why people act how they act and what they have to do. But the bottom line is that if we look at the person as giving us an opportunity to just smooth another rough spot of our neshama and to just be able, like my mother, Alela Shalom, I never knew how hard a childhood she had until she was like 70. And she used to have an expression. She used to say, it takes two people to make an argument. And if one person is quiet, there's no argument. And that's just what he said. He's like, if you can calm that bridge between this that's raging or this that's raging and the way it comes out, then we can actually do a lot of tikkun because we know that words and voice have tremendous, Hashem creates through speech. Baruch she'amar v'haya olam. That's the beginning of Pesukei Zimra. Blessed is he who spoke and the world came into being. And our world comes into being with our speech. We create relationships, we demise relationships, we do a lot to build, and that's why Shmiras HaLashon is so huge. Because we are given a godly power. We're the only being that has the creational power of speech. There are parrots and there are few other creatures that mimic, but they're not doing creational speech. They're not having, thoughts that they can articulate in language in the same way that we do. We are godly in that. And that's how we even we get our neshama by Hashem blew into Adam. We speak on breath. Like we really speak on the gift of the godliness within us. So I humbly suggest that everyone also use the power of thinking about this power of peace, not to light a fire. And in fact, there's a very strong minhag by many Hasidic Rebbeim, and it's really something we all should adapt, that before Shabbos, we personally forgive Michael, people in our lives, make phone calls, like to ensure that if we did anything to ruffle anybody's feathers, or there's something that's sticking in our craw, so to speak, like really, literally, that we could spend time, and it doesn't have to be Friday when we're already in the shorter days of Shabbos, even though it's getting longer now, it's still pretty short. This means Wednesday, Thursday, L'Kavod Shabbos Kodesh. The biggest thing we can do, L'Kavod Shabbos Kodesh, is I'm going to make peace with this one. Like, imagine what this means. Like, we need shalom in the world now. We can do, even if it's so hard, we can still do it. L'shem mitzvah for the chayalim, for Am Yisrael, for the l'shem shalom. Because that's what our goal is. Our goal is the Yom Shekulu Shabbos, when there's not going to be any more conflict. When we're going to have absolute revealed, now we're going to understand why everything is well. Oh, now we can really dan l'chafsus. In fact, my mother also used to say that. She used to say, you never know what they're going to, like, I used to be like, Mom, come on, and she'd be like, you never know. You never know. You never know. Maybe that's why all four of her kids became from, My mother didn't know halach al ma'isa, but she knew bein adam l'chaveiro, like she wrote the book. And to be able to hold yourself when people are raging is the same difference of how we parent sometimes a little child when they're having a temper tantrum. Some of us have a temper tantrum. I think I did too. When my kids did, when our kids did, and then when they get older and older, But then I remember watching a man who looked like a Rav. I was in a little store in Muncie, and my kids were little, and he had a kid who was just having a total meltdown, like one of those full out, you know? And he was like the Rock of Gibraltar. He was so, and I looked at him like I was such a young mother. I wasn't the most calm. And I was like, how do you do that? And he was incredulous at me. He was like, it's just a little kid. He's out of control. I wouldn't go, like, my job is to say calm and be his calm in the storm. He doesn't have control. I do. I was like, that was like, Alibi. I would have emulated that all the years, but you grow with the job. Now, as a grandmother, I can, give choices, da, da, da. But really, we all have to grow up from that. Like, everybody's raging because they're in pain. Are they in pain over something we did? Maybe. So let's just say sorry. What's the big deal? Shalom is so much worth more. And Shabbos is reminding us that we greet each other with Shabbat Shalom. And any of us who have children, and especially as they grow, and especially when they're adults, when they are not getting along, that is the biggest angst of a parent. When this kid doesn't talk to that one, or is angry at that one, or doesn't want that one over, or doesn't want to deal with that, that is a parent's real, true, probably one of the most challenging, painful things for a parent. So who are we? We're Shem's children. Why doesn't it make sense why he's so upset when we don't have shalom? Of course, because he is he's our tati and our mommy and our everything. And he's like, oh my goodness, guys, get along. There's he already put us in our rooms during COVID. We didn't get it. Took us out. Now he's like, please. So now we are waking up. And still there's a lot of people asleep to Yiddishkeit. I think they're maybe warm to being Jews, but they're still very, very asleep to being, awake. But still, we have to awaken them. I happen to listen to a little, these little snippets of the Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, for those who are not Chabad, the Rebbe, for those who are, and he was talking years ago about the need to, how many Jews are not knowledgeable about anything and how we have to go out. And as he was talking, he was crying. It was just not like, go get them and corral them. It's like, Nebuch, like we have, and he was just breaking down, crying. And that's like, if we would feel that way about when someone else is far away, that's why a person who loves can go up to a stranger and say, excuse me, are you Jewish? And invite them in to do something to like let that little Tselem Elokim have a little peephole, like to open up that sealed room, a crack, to the beauty. And we all know that there's people who that mushrooms into full observance. But even if it stays a little bit, like we know all the stories coming out of the war of people who were released, and all of a sudden now the show got away, and the Shomer Shabbos, and there's a warmth coming through the world to wake up. I told you about that woman who was in jail, and as a young woman and by herself has helped over 2,000 families wake up just from her own experience. So we're waking each other up. It's like Shabbos is the time to use that entree, and we can really, I think it's easier. And let's face it, there are people in our lives that really are hard to want to forgive. There are people in our lives who really have hurt us, or the wall has been up so long. So, but like I'm saying, I feel that based on what he's teaching and every other source that we can think of, Shalom is the number one tool, the power tool of Geula. It's like if you had to pick one tool, one power tool to break through, if we were jackhammering through this gullus and we could find what's going to be that thing to break through, it would have to be Shalom. It's like there's nothing else that synthesis does things that other, and all, if you think about it, I'm just thinking about it in science. Whenever you have synthesis, you have growth and healing. Okay, not all the time, but a lot of times. Hydrogen and oxygen in the right synthesis, you get water, life-giving. Photosynthesis, you get growth. There's so many different things that when you learn those tables as a kid, you realize, oh, this substance plus this equals this whole new amazing thing. So the synthesis of Am Yisrael has got to be only one thing, the absolute joint shalom that we can each take part in our own little piece of the puzzle is what allows the next piece of the puzzle to connect. And then we can only do what we could do, right? But the rollover effect is, we all know what that is. We know the dramatic effect of the rollover effect of what one person's tikkun with another can do in this world. So, Be'ezrat Hashem, give everybody a bracha to be brave, and not be afraid of any, backlash, because I think, but I bless us that whoever we need to forgive surprises us with their receptivity and their gratitude, and they're willing to lay down the past and just start new. And even if they don't, I bless us with bravery to know that we did, and we don't know. Hopefully, things will come through, and that our shalom should radiate to Am Yisrael and bring the shalom, the ultimate shalom of the Geula Shlema and Mashiach, where we can all, and we don't have to worry who he's going to be, because with shalom, we're all going to be good. We're all going to get it. It's going to be, whether it's Moshe Rabbeinu or the Rebbe or the Baal Shem Tov or David HaMelech or whoever it's going to be, we're all going to be united in saying, welcome, Mashiach. And that's, by the way, a beautiful first tefillah for when we light candles, especially if you light early, those 10 power minutes. Let your first prayer be for the Geula. And then just really beg for shalom. And may we all see it mamish now. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This was so beautiful. This was incredible. And one thing when you're talking about shalom, I would say is so important for the joining is love. I will tell you that, like, there are times, my son that I spoke about before, when he can sense like any tension in the room, and he just says the word with his communication device, I love you. And it's just sort of, it creates this beautiful, right? Shalom.
Oh.
So yes, love.
Oh my goodness. These children, I'm telling you, I don't know. I think we're the ones who are more handicapped than these children. I think these
there are teachers. I always say that, like, he's one of my greatest teachers. Yeah.
Really, it's really true. They just get things that we don't get. They really do. They just perceive on a different wavelength this world, and they get it. And they really are our teachers to open up our eyes to.
Yeah, and I'll tell you also, there is a program that I saw in one of the WhatsApp groups that I'm on. I think it must have been one of Karen's. I don't know. It seems like it. It's called Lelev, and you learn Torah or halacha with a special needs adult, even for like 10 minutes. I started doing it. It is amazing. There was like just the interaction and the comments and everything is so beautiful. So yeah, it's another way of, yeah.
That's amazing. I remember I once did, I did some of my songs with a few special needs young women. Well, they weren't always young, but they all looked young. Like there's a certain agelessness that people that don't live on this plane have. And it was very amazing that, even one who was basically a nonverbal person her whole life was just like there, moving, singing. It was like, things open up. These people have levels. And that I would like, could you send the link to me? Yep. Could you send that link, Lev? Very cool. Anyway, thank you. Thank you for showing your face, lady. You guys are all chicken. It's not fair. We're supposed to show each other's face. I don't need to look at me all day. All right, lovies, have the most beautiful. Thank you for giving me stuff to put on my
Thank you.
crocheting project
Thank you,
today.
Tzirel, Liba. So
Take
nice.
care, Karen. You sound
Great
like you need
lesson.
to.
Yeah, not yet.
Wait.
I still have another meeting. HaAm. I'm gonna share a video with you guys, and you like to hear music at the end. So give me just 1 minute. I'll share it on the screen. Thank you,
Sure.
Tzirel, Liba. Have a great
Wait for
Shabbos, and I mean it's only Monday, but
Okay.
we're
Well,
counting
I'm
down the
not on
days.
again this week.
We're counting the days. Yesterday was amazing Gula gathering. I don't
I
know
was on
how many
today.
of you joined that were here, but there's going to be a recording. Everyone should watch it. Everyone should watch it.
Dancing, yeah, I was on for part of it. It was great.
It was so amazing. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to get this on. Hashem sends me the song, so I don't know if this is going to be a song. Let's see. No, that's definitely not going to be the song. 1 second. This has to do with Shabbos candles, so let's do this one. I like to relate the song to what we're talking about. I think we played it before, but it's a beautiful song. Give me 1 second. Called Hold On Tight, Devorah Schwartz at Bracha Jaffe.
In a room that feels empty, I stand here on my own with my battered hopes and dreams, with countless tears and whispered prayers. The life that I'm yearning for, it always seems just out of reach. Imagined it so many times. My dream is Akeni, a family of my own. Offered every tear I have, done all there is to do, but I know I'm not in this alone. I know that it's hard to keep waiting, but I'll be here with you, holding your hand, and together our cries bizakeni, our tears will be carried right up to Hashem. So let's keep on waiting together, hoping together for just one more day. Hold on tight for just a bit longer. Our cry, our tefillos, he won't turn away. feels empty. We've languished and godless, with only our faith still aglow. Our faith still aglow. And whispered prayers echoing painfully, the dream in our hearts yet to grow. We've imagined it so many times. We've cried for Mashiach, for that day, a home of that day, a home of our. We've offered every day we've done all there is to do, but we know we're not in this alone. I know that it's hard to keep waiting, so I'll be here with you, holding your hand, and together our cries Vizakeni, our tears will be carried right up to Hashem. So let's keep on waiting together, hoping together for just one more day. Hold on tight for just a bit longer. Our cries, our feels, He won't turn away.
Thank you, ladies, for joining. Hope you enjoy that. We have to keep waiting patiently with Emunah and Bitachon, counting down the days to Shabbos, to the real day of Shabbos. Shabbat HaGadol, Olam Haba, Bezrat Hashem, Mashiach Tzidkenu, with Chesed and Rachamim. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you again tomorrow. And Bezrat Hashem, we have Solat Tovot. Thank you. Call to ladies.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
Karen.
much.